What's up, y'all? I'm Chad Brooks. I am the author of this book, Is My Church Healthy? And I'm a United Methodist congregational developer who serves inside the Louisiana Conference United Methodist Church. That's a fancy way to say I work with church revitalization, new church starts, all that sort of thing. And I got this really good question over on Twitter from Court Gatliff. It's two-parter. First thing he said was, anyone know folks doing good, effective youth ministry in a small church context? And he CC'd me on it, and I just my immediate response was, hey, Court, what does small mean to you? That will pay off in a little bit. But he said, yeah, that's probably true. I'm serving in a church of 200. The median-sized church in the United States is like 55, 60 people. So 200-person church might feel small. It's actually a pretty decent-sized church. But he said, we're having some questions. Our youth ministry is thin. We probably have 7 or 8 students, but a bigger group of kids is coming up in a few years. This is something that's really important, and this is something I actually help churches here in Louisiana work with quite often, because this idea of age group ministry and what's an appropriate number of kids to expect out of a ministry. Now, I go into this a little bit in Is My Church Healthy? I've got another book I'm working on right now that's specifically about understanding age group ministries and those sorts of things. But I like to think about it of percentages. And you also can begin to see a standard norm inside of different churches. Now, one of the things I've heard is that if the total kids and youth in a church are 25% of the Sunday attendance, that's a really good number. So that would mean that, in a church of 200, that you should have around 50 teenagers and kids. You could do a kind of an even split or that sort of a thing. And what's so funny is when I talk to smaller United Methodist churches, which is my bread and butter, so churches of 50 or 60, what I find out is a lot of times they actually have more kids than that percentage-wise. I've known several churches that are only running 70 or 80 on Sunday morning that might have over 100 kids and youth involved in their ministries somehow. That's really, really wild. I've got another church I work with that is about 110 on Sunday morning, and they routinely have 20 active kids. So you think about those percentages right there. And so that's kind of one leading number. If a church is asking, hey, how many kids do we need to have, or how many youth do we need to have, there's a couple of things I like to do. This is easy as United Methodist because we keep all sorts of records and this sort of thing, and you're required to send them in every year. But what I normally do is first step is let's relieve the anxiety you might have around this. Let's go back to your highest attendance year in the last 10 or 15 years. Let's see how many kids you had back then. Let's see how many youth you had back then. And let's run the same, percentage metrics to see, okay, what percentage of your church was kids, or what percentage of your church was teenagers at that point in time. And find out what that percentage goal is. Because, really a lot of times what churches are remembering is they'll say, hey, we need more kids. We don't have as many kids as we used to have. Well, the church was at its biggest 15 years ago. It might have been 3 times the size it is right now. And the total number of kids that they had back in the day might actually be larger than your church is this day. And that can be a very anxiety-inducing thing. So in those scenarios, what I like to tell churches to do is, okay, so we've gone back to this period in the past that you might have fond memories of. And having that many kids is probably not the healthiest benchmark you can set right now. But what you might be able to do is set a benchmark of that percentage of kids. I've seen a church that, only 8 or 9 years ago was running around 300 on Sunday morning and had around 100 kids active in the church. They're only running around 100 right now. But that 30%, 33% marker, they really liked that. And that honestly had fit inside the larger culture and history of the church. And so it was, okay, well, what does it mean for us to have not 100 kids where we're working in anxious memory space? What does it mean for us to have 30 kids and do the exact same thing with student ministry? And so in a church of 200 or so, if you use that figure that the combined youth and kids attendance of 25% is some sort of a healthy number, the question I would ask is, okay, how many kids and how many youth do we have now? What percentage of our Sunday morning worship is that? This is the sort of way I like to operate. I like to understand objective data points to ease anxiety, and then to build strategies and tactics to what it might mean for the church to be operating at that healthy level. So, Court, that was a fantastic question, and this is kind of a fun way to answer it. if you got more questions about this sort of thing, just hit me up on Twitter at RevChatBrooks, and I'd love to make a quick little video answer for you. See you next time.